Hello everyone. Welcome back to Sustainable Living with Shilpa Reddy, powered by Planet Green's Farm Natura, a new beginning to your life. On this episode of Planet Green's Sustainable Star, I have with me our very own Hyderabadi, a humanitarian, an advocate of sustainable development goals, and a social activist. Let us all welcome Dia Mirza on the show. Hi, Dia. Thank you so much for being on my show. In fact, if you weren't on the show, this show wouldn't have been complete. It's worth the wait. It's been, I think, a year that I've been persuading you.
Yeah.
Finally, we got you today. Thank you so much for being on my show.
I'm so happy to be on your show, and I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing and the knowledge that you're spreading. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for those wonderful words. So, Dia, you're the first person I know among the celebrities who spoke about sustainability when no one really spoke about it or knew anything about sustainability. Did your upbringing have a role to play, or did an incident or a book? What is that which impacted you, and how did this awareness come to you?
Shilpa, I think it's a combination of many things. One is the fact that I grew up in Hyderabad, and I grew up in an environment where I was surrounded by nature. My childhood was spent climbing trees and
Wow.
watching birds build nests and just being a part of nature. And my school as well, Vidyaranya High School in Hyderabad, had this big hill inside the compound of the school. So we used to go bird watching there, and even the system of education was facilitated that connection with nature. And my
Okay.
parents love nature. My mother talks to plants.
Really?
She knows the names of every plant there is to know.
Wow.
And she's got incredible knowledge. And I think just growing up in an environment that had so much empathy, so much caring, and so much knowledge for the natural world, and just feeling for the natural world. And then, of course, when I started working with Bittu Sehgal, who is the founder and the editor of Sanctuary Asia, which is one of India's first magazines
Yes.
on nature, and wildlife, and environment. I discovered that there was a very big gap in the science and the mindsets of people.
Okay.
That the people who, so the scientists had started ringing the alarm bells in the 80s. In fact, the year of my birth, 1981, is when the
Okay.
first report was published about human beings' over-exploitative behavior, how it was impacting the natural world, how it was
Really?
causing an imbalance, and how that would in turn impact human health and peace and existence. But nothing was done about it. Then in the 1990s, there was a very strong movement that started.
That's right.
And when I met Bittu, and I basically made him my mentor, I just kind of attached myself to him, and I said, I want to learn, I want to grow, and I want to use my agency
Okay.
and my voice to advocate, because if there is a gap, we have to fill that gap. And I want to do this because I care for it and I understand this. And when I started working with him and understanding what was actually happening, even within the country and of course the world, but more so within India, when you go into the forests, you work with the rangers, you interact with people on the ground, and you have your ear close to the ground, you really understand what the challenges are.
Right.
And I realized that in this pursuit of modern living and urbanization, we had lost our connection with nature.
Absolutely.
And it was time for us to go back to our roots, go back to nature.
Right. So this was to be asked later, but then now that you spoke about the connect with nature,
Yeah.
how can, since there is no connect with nature, most of us don't feel it as a part of us, or that's how we lack empathy. So what do you say to people to bring back that connect and nurture empathy for everything around us?
I'm reading a book right now called A Tracker's Guide to Life. And
Okay.
it's about this man who grew up in the bush in Africa, and he was a white man, and he basically became a life coach in America.
Okay.
And realized that everybody living in fast-paced urban environments was lost.
Oh.
And they were lost because they lost connection with nature.
Absolutely.
And the one thing that takes you back to your true self, your being, what makes you feel alive,
Right.
is reconnecting with the natural world. And
how do we do it in living in urban societies?
well, I do it. I've worked my, like, I basically am fortunate. There's a garden in my building. I make sure I go down to it. I earth. I walk bare feet in the grass.
Right.
I, in my husband's house, I've built areas within the home which has green spaces, so it attracts a lot of biodiversity.
Okay.
And I make sure that my son interacts with nature every day.
I saw such some of the beautiful
So there's a
videos.
sensory interaction. He touches
Right.
leaves, he touches the trunk of trees.
Okay.
I make sure he's watching butterflies. Now he identifies birds. So if he's in his room,
Okay.
and a sunbird comes to the plants outside his room, he can hear it and he looks at it. He knows when the sunbird has arrived.
Oh.
And he's only 14 months old.
Wow.
So I think for those who have access to green spaces, please make it.
Or even public parks.
Yeah, whatever it may be. Even if it's a small balcony in your home that you can make green, do it. And interact with nature as frequently as you can. And all of my holidays, actually most of our holidays as a family now are to the forests.
Wow.
Yeah. And whenever we get a chance, we just get away from Bombay and we go to the hills and just go to any space that offers that interaction with nature.
And it's also very healing is what?
Of course. Our ancient scriptures tell us that. There's, of course, this great science that the Japanese are now giving to the world, which is forest bathing and the healing effects of forest bathing.
Wonderful.
We are the only species on the planet that has built a world outside of the natural world.
You're right.
We've built walls.
You're right. So right.
And which is why we feel so imbalanced and so disconnected with ourselves, because we're so removed from our natural spaces.
True. So beautifully said, Dia. Yeah. So you're someone who never lets go of an opportunity when it comes to addressing a social cause. You've been extensively working with the government of Andhra Pradesh to create HIV awareness, and you've been a part of Narmada Bachao Andolan. And also, you've been working with Cancer Patient Aid Association and many more. So how did you nurture this empathy for everything, and how can everyone else be a part of something other than their own families?
Very early in my career as an actor, I was obviously approached by NGOs to work with them and help them raise awareness about the causes that they were espousing. And I realized how much joy it gave me to help people. And it's really that selfish need.
You want to call that selfish?
It is. It truly is. I don't think that there is anything more powerful than the pursuit of happiness in creating happiness for other people. And when we can make a difference,
right,
the kind of peace and the kind of happiness that gives you, nothing in the world can. And you know this to be true.
It is so gratifying.
It is the most gratifying thing in the world too. And the interesting thing is, the more good you do, the more capable of doing good you become.
Absolutely. You're right. I've never thought of it that way, but then you are so right about it.
Isn't it true?
Yes. And you're a new mother. So we have been seeing a lot of climate change effects around, and also pollution, contamination, food, water, air is polluted. And we've been using excessive chemicals in everything that we consume and use. As parents, we're always worried about these harmful effects upon our children, especially someone like you who has a newborn or a younger one. How and what conscious choices did you make for your little one? And if you can share that knowledge with many mothers out there who want to keep them safe.
Shilpa, the first thing is that I think we're very fortunate that we are aware that there are chemicals in our food and in our air and in our soil. Most people don't even know.
Okay, so the awareness is the first.
So the first and the most important aspect is awareness. And then, of course, is with that awareness comes a deep sense of alarm, because it's terrifying.
Terrifying, yes.
It's terrifying to think that the water that should be the healthiest thing in the world, it's a natural resource that, has given all life has created life on this planet.
Right.
We've gone and contaminated. But I think what I've done is try to empower myself with knowledge and understand what are the aspects that I can control, what are the things that I can ensure I'm doing. So when we talk about polluted air, one thing I can do is raise awareness about the pollution and encourage policymakers and government and civic bodies to do better, and of course encourage industries to do better. Now, of course, it's reached a point where I think even people who run industries are discovering that their own families are falling really ill and they need to do better. So nature has a very powerful way of ensuring we check ourselves. Hopefully we'll check ourselves in time. But I can't control the pollution levels, but I can control my actions in everyday life. So I ensure I manage my waste. I think as a species, we are the only species on the planet that creates toxic waste.
Correct.
No other species does that.
Yes.
And if there is one sustainable action that every one of us must take, it's to manage our waste. Segregate, compost, ensure we are not introducing toxic waste into the environment, ensuring that our toxic waste is not reaching the landfill, that we're managing, our paper, our cartons, our plastics, everything properly.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing. And that can really contribute to significant reduction in air pollution. The second thing is identifying food, the source of food. Where are my vegetables coming from?
Right.
Where is my fruit coming from? So there are two aspects to it. One is seasonal and local, and not unpackaged foods as much as possible, and organic, natural, naturally grown food. So thankfully we have access to a farmer's market, which is close to our home, so all our supplies come from there. And I'm very grateful to Rahul, who runs this farmer store, for doing what he is, because if he didn't exist, I'd be in trouble. So like natural shouldn't be the exception, it should be the norm. We should be finding natural foods available everywhere, at every corner, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. The third thing is ensuring that we've kind of brought the right filtration systems at home. We're distilling and filtering the water properly before feeding our child. Of course, I'm not one of those crazy people who boils water to bathe my child also.
Because
I feel the only way he'll build immunity is if he tastes the water straight from the tap once in a while.
Right, you're right.
Which he does. When I'm bathing him, he's like, his mouth is open and he's taking the water in. And the first time it happened, I freaked out because we're sterilizing the milk bottles, we're sterilizing everything, but he's drinking water straight from the tap. It's scary. But thankfully, these are things that build their immunity as well. So, yeah. These are a few things that I think we can all do as parents.
So, this question is been on my mind and I really wanted to hear it from you. So, as a UN Environment Program Goodwill Ambassador and UN General Secretary Advocate for Sustainable Goals, what have been your roles and responsibilities?
I'm very lucky that I got appointed by UNEP, which is their environment program, the UN's environment program, about 6 years ago, because it gave me access to science that I wouldn't have had access to.
Wow.
Right?
That is empowering.
It is extremely empowering, and it's also extremely terrifying, because the more you discover the truths, the harder it becomes to understand why more people won't do more about it. But it's empowered me in many ways. I think what it's done, most importantly, is that it's helped me communicate more effectively. And that's predominantly the role that I play. I am a communicator. I am an advocate for the work that is being done. We're focused on, when it comes to the United Nations Environment Program, there are 3 areas that we're focused on. Which is, of course, the 3 crises or the planetary crises that we're confronted by. One is biodiversity loss, one is pollution, and the third is climate change.
Okay.
So these are the 3 areas that we work on, and there are extensive campaigns that we're a part of.
Okay.
And a big chunk of my responsibility is to make that knowledge common, make it accessible to more people, take the campaigns to young people across the country and the world, feature in the campaigns, do voiceovers for documentaries, present awards, do all kinds of work that empowers people through knowledge, and be that bridge that I told you I wanted to be when I set out to be a communicator. And with the SDGs, again, I was actually quite stunned when I was appointed, because 17 people on the planet have been appointed to do this work for the Secretary General of the United Nations. And I was the first person to be appointed from India. And now, of course,
I'm sorry, I didn't know this.
That's
this
okay.
Is so commendable.
It was extremely humbling. And now, of course, I'm joined by Kailash Satyarthi, who's an extraordinary human being who's working for child's rights in India. And he's also a Nobel Peace Laureate.
Oh, really? Wow.
But the people who are a part of this, this advocates group are illuminaries. They're exemplary human beings from all over the world. So the first thing that I get to do is learn. I learn so much by being a part of this group. Every time I come away from a meeting, and a lot of the meetings happen online because of COVID, but the first year we all met in person. And it's humbling. But the Secretary General actually said this yesterday. He happens to be in India right now. And he said that India represents 1/6 of the world's population and the youngest population on the planet.
Right.
And it's upon us to make or break the goals. So if India actually truly adopts the Sustainable Development Goals, every individual, every institution, every industry, every government, every policy, we can truly achieve these goals.
Yeah, because 1/6 is a huge
It's a
part.
very, very powerful number.
Wow.
So the future of this planet and the health of every being on this planet will be impacted by the choices that you and I make.
Wow, this is a learning for me. Thank you so much for enlightening me with this particular part which I didn't know about. Wow,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. Yeah. And what, according to you, can the government, bring in, like, different kind of policies concerning to sustainable sector? What else?
There's a lot of work to be done. The first and the most important thing that we need to recognize is that agencies can't work in silos. So, a few years ago, we had a meeting with the various agencies that work under the ambit of the MOEFCC. And it was shocking to find out that was the first time they were all meeting under one roof.
Oh, first time.
So imagine wildlife protection doesn't meet forestry, doesn't meet soil conservation.
Okay.
So
and though they're like all interrelated and interconnected.
All connected. So the first and the most important thing that I believe we need to do, and we can do better, is to improve our ability to work with each other.
Collaboration.
Yeah. All government agencies should be meeting more often and working together more often. And environmental protection can no longer be perceived as obstructionism.
Right.
And those who are working in urban development and all forms of development have to work with the environmental arms of government, because unless and until our models of urbanization and development are not sustainable, we don't have
correct.
We don't have any hope.
So they have to be organized and have to be working together to even achieve what they're intending to.
Yes, and we really need to walk the talk. We have to ensure we do not lose any more biodiversity. We have to ensure we protect our existing forests. We have to ensure that the existing trees that we have, that are millennia old, that are not cut anymore in the name of urban infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Because it's our avarice and our ego that thinks that by cutting 200 trees or 2000 trees, and by replanting them or growing double the number in their name, we're going to achieve that biodiversity.
That'll never be the same.
It'll never be the same. We cannot do it. We are incapable of doing that.
Wow, that's heavy. So what is the most gratifying part of you holding such honorable positions at UN?
Meeting good people.
Okay, and the learning you just mentioned.
Absolutely. Meeting good people, young people who are so passionate, so driven, who are coming up with innovations every day, who are actually impacting change on the ground. You know, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's amazing that despite the fact that there is so much climate anxiety, that there is just so much wrong in the world, and it's actually so easy to make it right if only people were determined to.
Right.
I'll give you another statistic that will blow your mind. Just 1% of the population on this planet is responsible for 90% of carbon emissions.
No. Are you serious? 1% for 90% carbon emission. And those would be the affluent lot, I'm assuming?
The people who are basically, of course, the people who
industry,
fossil fuel industry, it's a very small number of people that is responsible for plundering.
It is so hard for me to believe this. It's actually, you gave me goosebumps.
Well, the imperialists, the British colonized, you know, different parts of the world, but there are these few people on the planet who've colonized the planet.
Right.
And we're all bearing the consequences of that. And what baffles me is that the world can't come together to make these people change.
Just 1%.
Yes.
Wow, this really blew my mind off, Dia, really. Oh my God. So,
you know, we keep talking about, I have to change, you have to change. If everybody changes, we'll bring change. Yes, that's true. But
this responsible 1% changes, then
everything changes.
It'll take me some time to process that. I've been, there's so much, so many innovations and so many sustainable solutions that you see lately. What has been your favorite one? Did something really catch your attention?
You know, there's lots of young people who are coming up with the ability to break down plastics. So there's some hope that the quantum of plastic that we're generating can be purposefully reused.
Okay.
And that to me is a real ray of hope, because we've now discovered plastic in placenta. We've discovered it in breast milk. We've discovered it in human blood. So clearly plastics are not going anywhere. And given that we've already generated so much of it, we should know how to reuse it better and more effectively. And I'm really praying for the day where, you know, new plastics are not made anymore, that only existing plastics are reused
or recycled. Okay. So fashion, we know fashion industry is the third largest polluting industry on the planet. And you being an actor, fashion is an integral part of your profession. What kind of conscious fashion choices do you make? And if you can suggest to many other, like how to select fashion and be more conscious as to what they buy.
You know, I'm very fortunate. The first thing that I ensured my stylist did, and of course she's a very conscientious human being as well. I'm very lucky to have her work with me. She's my best friend, Dia Chandani, and she basically sources everything I wear from sustainable brands.
Okay.
And if you go to my Instagram page, every single outfit I have worn in the last how many ever years Instagram has existed will be all sustainable.
Okay.
So you want to know which designer is sustainable, go to my page.
Okay.
But that apart, I think the easiest way to be sustainable is to consume less.
That's the best way to do.
So, and there are so many now people like my friend Purnia is running this amazing online thing where you can actually buy pre-owned clothes and enjoy them and sell them again. So there's that cycle doesn't end.
Right. These websites have become so popular in the recent past.
As they should, because firstly, a lot of high-end designers are not affordable to everyone. And if
Absolutely.
you want something, you've enjoyed it, you don't intend to continue wearing it again, please sell it.
Instead of hoarding your
instead of
wardrobes.
yeah, because, and I feel like, Shilpa, during the pandemic and the lockdowns, we were all sitting at home looking at our large cupboards filled with things and saying to ourselves, why? At least I went through that.
No, it felt foolish.
I felt very foolish about many things. And now in the last 7-8 years, though, I don't purchase things anymore because I don't need to. I'm lucky. I'm an actor. People give me clothes. I wear them. I do a photo shoot. I return the outfit. I think I'm leading the most
sustainable in that sense.
In that sense,
absolutely.
No? But I recognize the fact that people don't always get free clothes.
No, yeah, for a lot of them, it's an aspiration.
Yeah, but when I do need to buy, I make sure I buy from local designers. I support local crafts. I support local weavers. All my saris are totally traditional and handcrafted and handloom, and there's no synthetics and all of that. Even for my baby, I'm only putting him in locally made cotton, 100% organic, GOT certified stuff.
I heard you're very particular about conscious gifting.
Oh, yes.
In fact, one of my friends from Mumbai,
she
shared a
boring gifter. I give the same thing.
Not really. She spoke really highly about you. She said for her children's birthdays, Dia sends this beautiful card saying that so many trees have been planted on the occasion of their children's birthday. And this blew my mind. And I'm like, wow, this is such a wonderful way to, add to the planet, and also in the process teach the child that this would be a better gift. So elaborate a little more on conscious gifting and how parents should, look at celebrating birthdays in the most conscious way.
So I'm actually one of those mothers who's decided I'm not going to have birthday parties for my son.
Okay.
I think it's
fair enough from you.
Just a wasteful exercise. I will ensure every birthday he does something where he helps people in whatever form and way.
Okay.
That's unless he gets to an age where he decides what he wants to do.
Okay.
Then it's up to him. But until he's old enough to make that choice, I'll decide for him.
Absolutely. As a mother, you have every right.
Because I feel, and I'm seeing so much of this, Shilpa, and it's terrifying. Because firstly, there's all of that decor that happens, and so much of it is plastic. People don't even realize balloons are plastic. And then the sticks on those balloons are plastic. And there's just so much wastage, and it happens year after year. And then and children come back home with these really expensive gifts as return gifts, and it's a terrifying thing because firstly it's a terrible habit forming exercise, and then of course you're creating the gap of have and have not is getting wider. There may be children in your child's class who cannot afford
or
to come back
similar party.
Give you an example. It blows my mind when I see these things.
Or
and it really
written gifts of that standard?
Yes. That this is happening. And with like 6-year-old and 5-year-olds. So I think when parents realize that our patterns of consumption are impacting the world that we are living in, and it's impacting your child's health, then I hope people will make better choices. Absolutely. So I'm very boring. I give the same gift to everyone. I grow trees in their name. I work with this organization called
I personally think it's beautiful, and this might inspire millions to
do the same. I hope so. I mean, I have friends who have mini forests in their name now because year after year, I've grown trees in their name.
Wonderful.
So but it feels good. I've managed to grow over 8,000 trees.
Wow.
And I know many people who receive these certificates as gifts feel really good about it.
I would like to check the number because this must be an authentic.
It's online. It's completely verifiable. You can track your trees via satellite imagery.
Wonderful.
You can go and visit your trees whenever you want. It helps the local communities. It's helping with regeneration of forests. So all of these trees are grown on the peripheries of existing forests.
Okay. So this, I think I'm going to put up the number, the link, and I'm sure this will inspire many.
Yes.
Growtrees.com.
It's grow/trees.com.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for sharing that information.
Everybody should grow trees.
So, we cannot stop or pause economy or economic activities. So, how can ecology and economy coexist harmoniously?
Well, Mahatma Gandhi explained how, of course, it is the model of economy that needs to change. And that's actually what we're trying to very emphatically convey to the global north, which is what really defines the global economy, and which has also led to the devastation and destruction that we're experiencing. So, nature is an incredible self-repairing system, and it is the most incredible and powerful infrastructure that exists.
Right.
And all we need to do is to go back to natural systems and work with nature and ensure that we are creating life and livelihoods and businesses and opportunities by working with nature. So I think it's a complete fallacy to imagine that economy can exist without ecology. It cannot.
True. It cannot.
You cannot. If you don't have rich soil to grow food, how can you continue?
Absolutely.
Right?
There's no way.
If you don't have clean air to breathe, then how is the workforce going to show up to work?
Everything comes from the earth.
Everything
Literally
comes from the earth, and the people who've industrialized everything have to go back to understanding that you have to work locally, you have to work with nature, and you have to work keeping conservation in mind within all aspects of the business that we're doing. Environment, governments, and societies become a very prevalent part of the language within economics, and more people are, especially funds. I know a little bit about this because my husband is into investments, and he explains to me how more and more people now, large funds, are insisting that if you want money, you have to, ensure that you're complying with ESG.
That's true.
So that's a good
we
indication.
Have learned it recently also with Sustain Card. I can't agree more.
It's a good indication of what's happening.
So Dia, what is your definition of sustainability?
Understanding that everything that we are comes from the earth.
Wow. So simply put, but so profound.
Everything we use, everything we eat, everything we need comes from the earth.
Right.
And respecting that.
Right.
And the moment you respect that, then you become responsible for what form you send it back to the earth in, how wastefully you use it.
Right.
All of that consciousness shifts then.
Right.
That to me is sustainability. I mean, there's no other way of explaining it for me.
Okay. So from this point on, if you see, I think it's all about conserving and preserving. And it is very important that we nurture and raise the next generation who are extremely conscious and ecologically responsible. So how can educational institutions add to this, and how can they do it?
A lot of educational institutions have adopted the Sustainable Development Goals and have made it a part of their syllabus, which is fantastic, because when you study the 17 goals, yesterday the General Secretary was asked, what is the one goal that has to be achieved? And so he said the first one, which is zero hunger. Because the moment zero hunger is achieved, it means all other goals have been achieved.
How is that?
Well, when there is climate action, climate is regulated, it means more people have food.
Okay. Yes, now I understand.
And when cities are more sustainable, it means there's better health. So everything impacts hunger. Everything impacts zero poverty. When everything is in balance and everything is being protected and nurtured and secured, equality and education and infrastructure and planetary action, climate action, then everyone benefits from it. Right. And right now the model that the world is existing on is an exploitative model. It's also a model of rich serving the rich.
Right.
So the trickle down effect is not as it should be.
Should be, yeah. Rich is becoming richer.
Yeah, so right, because in the pandemic, the rich got richer and more of the world was pushed into poverty.
That's right.
So it's clearly an economy that is serving the rich, and that model has to change. So one is adopting the sustainable development goals, ensuring it's a part of the syllabus, and ensuring that environmental studies, some form of just understanding how the natural systems work. Like, for example, I spoke about how in my school we had that interaction with nature.
Right.
So to foster more such activities, because there's nothing more powerful than taking children into nature. You don't need to teach them much after that, because nature teaches everything herself. And then the other thing that I feel, like there's so many schools now in so many parts of the world that are going, like making their campuses more natural and increasing outdoor activity, ensuring children are playing bare feet, are ensuring that children are learning how to grow food. So there's so much that can be done.
But don't you think that's a very small segment? As you said, this could be probably for...
Imagine in the schools in villages doing this. They can so easily do it because they are in areas that have natural environments accessible and available to them.
So more sending the kids outdoors.
Yeah, and for urban schools, grow food. There's nothing more powerful than teaching children how to grow food.
Instead of curriculums, I think more activity would teach them, as you rightly said.
So finding ways to ensure children are engaging and interacting with nature would be the most powerful intervention for all schools to have. There's this really good book that I read called Lost Child in the Woods.
Okay.
Which actually tells you from a very scientific point of view how interacting with nature ensures you enjoy good health for life. One of the big reasons for obesity in urban centers is something called nature deficit.
Okay.
One of the big contributors to mental depression and mental health issues is nature deficit. So not only does nature provide you a lot of learning, but it also improves your health. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Nature deficit. I like that actually. Wow. So their nature, I mean, being close to nature is very important, as you said, but global warming is so real. And if you see, we have extreme hot summers, untimely rains, cyclones, droughts. Looking at the aspect of human resilience, innovation, determination, do you think we can change this around in the limited time that we have?
I hope so. I'm counting on our survival instinct. I really am. I'm really counting on our survival instinct. But from the way things look right now, it looks like we are in self-destruct mode.
Right.
And self-destruct mode caused by capitalism, over-consumptive nature, everybody telling us to buy something all the time, our own need to fill some vacuous space that feels unsatisfied unless we have more and more and more.
Absolutely. And they just make you feel that you need to have it. It's the very intelligent marketing.
We actually don't.
We don't. We don't. Our parents, our grandparents didn't need much.
Yeah.
In fact, they were probably the happiest generation than any of us today.
True.
Content and fulfilling, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And they actually thrived in the power of less is more. You know, they took great pride. Like my mother inherited her great-grandmother's saris. She passed them on to me. I still have them. Of course, I can't wear them because they're so fragile now. But that concept of inheritance.
Yeah, not just throwing them out of the wardrobe or just trashing them.
Yeah, an inheritance of an inherently healthy world.
Wow. There's so much to learn. I'm just loving this conversation, and that's the reason why I
actually want to have you on my Instagram live so that I can learn from you. I keep watching your videos. I envy the space that you have created for your family.
Yeah.
You know, it's so powerful what you're doing, Shilpa.
Thank you.
It truly is. There's so much to learn from you every day.
So honored to hear that from you.
Yeah.
So, Dia, I heard you say that the lesser you need the air conditioning, the lesser you need it. I feel that's very difficult for even me living in Hyderabad and you living in Bombay. I don't know how you do it, but at the same time, I feel everybody can do something that can make a difference. I want you to talk about few most important things that every household can make to live responsibly, consciously, and sustainably.
So the less air conditioning habit has really been lost to my husband,
Okay.
who cannot survive without air conditioning. He just can't sleep
When
without air
you are
conditioning.
single, it's different,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
I totally understand.
And but in my own time and own space, I'm very, very conscientious about how I use it. And
Okay.
I only use AC if there's like a shoot going on and my makeup has to be in
Stay, yeah,
place.
I totally agree.
Otherwise, I'm happy to be like muggy. And but I think, you know, it really starts with recognizing that our health is connected to the environment.
Okay.
And our behavior, our actions, our choices of consumption impact everything. And there are 7 colors in the rainbow, and there are 7 habits that I think we can all learn to inculcate.
Okay.
So the first is refuse all single-use plastics.
Okay.
Right? It's a no-brainer. It's really easy to do, and I think
This is
everyone
something
can do it.
very easy.
Yeah.
I
Carry
agree.
your own cutlery, carry your own mug, carry your own bottle. I have a handbag. We all have handbags. Men carry backpacks. It's so easy to keep handy these basic things. You know, your shopping bag, whether it's made with cloth or whatever, folded in your handbag.
Right.
Easy to refuse single-use plastics. Know that, you know, items like earbuds are made with plastic. There are bamboo earbuds available now.
Right.
Straws are made with plastic. Then balloon sticks. There is, of course, they're supposed to be banned in India, but they're being rampantly used even now. So clearly bans are ineffective. So we have to make those choices.
True, absolutely.
The second thing that I think we can all easily do is replace all CFL bulbs at home with LED bulbs.
Okay.
And use technology that is energy efficient. Keep the temperature of the AC on 24. So don't reduce it further. Also, make sure you turn off unutilized power supply. So everything, whether it's your gadgets or your heater, water heater, or it is your whatever is not in use should be turned off.
Some of the gadgets are always
many
in,
people
right?
everything is plugged in and everything is on standby mode. So that has to change. So yeah, we need to use resources more conscientiously. So electricity must be used more consciously, and fix leaking taps. Try and save water. If you have the ability to, put up a water shed in your homes or your co-ops or whatever, where you can recharge water or save water or store water, natural water.
Right.
We should
The
all
water
try
harvesting,
and do it. Yeah, harvest our water. And then there's also these amazing water check systems that are implementable now in your ground tanks and your overhead tanks that basically ensure there's no overflow. So you're not wasting water.
Right, yes.
We got it done in our co-op about 7-8 years ago, and it's served us beautifully. We've not wasted any water since then.
Fabulous.
The other thing that I think we can all do, the third thing, is eat seasonal and local foods, fruits and vegetables. Fourth is practice a mostly plant-based diet.
Okay.
It really helps make a difference. The fifth is use items of personal hygiene and domestic cleaning products that are as natural as possible. So try and stay away from
harsh chemicals for cleaning,
because it's going into the ground.
Absolutely.
It's going into our waterways and
food,
creating all kinds
everything.
of havoc. So try and use natural products.
Right.
Carpool as much as possible.
Right.
Use, I mean, I don't talk about using um, local transport, government transport, because public transport, because I don't use it myself. So I have no business telling people. But if you can, please do. I carpool as much as possible. And we try and as a family, as friends, carpool all the time. So if we know we're headed in the same direction and we live in a close vicinity of each other, we go together.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Everybody must do
like
it.
5 cars arriving at one place, one car,
Everyone
or
going
2
to the
cars,
same place from
2
the same
cars
place.
arrive sometimes,
Absolutely.
most of the time. So the 7th thing that I think we can all do is support organizations that work towards the protection and conservation of wildlife and nature. It's just, they really need our support.
I've sworn to myself. I mean, I've stopped.
They're threatened. Their lives are under threat. They work in the most difficult conditions. True. It would just make such a big difference. So for my 40th birthday, instead of having a lavish party, I just donated all the money that I could to forest rangers. And I felt so good. Yeah. I was like,
that money
this
can
is
make
such a meaningful birthday.
Yeah. It could be like one night spent for us, but then that money could
people
do
end
a
up spending
huge...
that kind of money, inviting, taking, their friends for international vacations and...
No, you're right. You have to be conscious and think how you're spending your money if you are in that position.
Yeah.
In fact, I swore to myself that all my donations are going only to causes that are for the nature or environment protection.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that needs our first attention.
Absolutely. I mean, everything that we're dealing with, whether it's the rise in disease and the rise in cancer, whatever the problems of our world are right now, are all contributed by biodiversity loss.
True. So 3 books that everybody must read from whatever you've read.
Last Child in the Woods, I feel everyone must definitely read. It really helps understand many things. Arthashastra, if you can find the translation. There's so much in our ancient wisdom.
Really? What does it talk about?
Everything we need to know, including sanctuaries, including protecting forests. In fact, the first documented rule for forest protection is in the Arthashastra.
Wow. Thank you for sharing this. I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I was ignorant about this. Thank you.
And the
third book would be?
Tough to choose. There's so many.
You can say 5 too.
No. I mean, I'm trying to choose my favorites. Completely blanking out right now. There is a book that put a lot in context for me. It's actually got nothing to do with wildlife and conservation or environmental protection. But it's a book that made me rethink my idea of happiness. It was also made into a film. It's called Into the Wild.
Okay. Into the Wild. That was the same, the name of the book is also Into the Wild?
Yeah, that's the name of the book.
Okay.
It
gave you perspective of your habits.
What is the real idea of happiness?
Last but not the least, Dia, there is a lot of confusion, anxiety, stress, lack of awareness when it comes to sustainable living. Like when I speak to few people, they get stressed, they aspire to live sustainably, but they don't know where to start and how to, go along. So what would you say to such people? How do they take their sustainable journey forward without stress or anxiety?
Well, I've given lots of interventions that we can all, adopt and practice in our lives. But the one thing that I think we can all do is consume less, waste less. Okay. That's the best way to be. That's the simplest way to be.
Instead of thinking what alternatives to find.
Yeah, just waste less, consume less, and manage your waste.
That's most important. Yeah. That will have a huge impact if every household can manage the waste and compost. I think we can save a lot of landfills.
Absolutely.
Right.
Not just that, we can save a lot more than that.
Yeah, the effect is a lot. Dia, we ask a few set of questions just to know a little more about your choices. Very simple. It's called Rapid Choice Round. I just want to know what is your favorite. I think you'll say everything, but then still I'm going to ask. Mountains or beaches?
Mountains.
Grasslands or forests?
Forests.
Caves or valleys?
Valleys.
Water, fire?
Water.
Birds or animals? Tough one, right? Okay, I'll give you both.
Please give me both.
Plants or trees? Also both.
Both.
I know. Sun or the moon?
Sun. Without
Sun.
the sun, no life would
There's
exist.
no moon also without the sun, I
You know,
guess.
if I had to give God a form,
It would be sun.
it would be the sun.
Wow. Roses or lilies?
Lilies.
Fruits or vegetables?
Fruits.
Really?
Yeah, I love my sweet.
Okay. Farming or gardening?
Farming, I think, would be
Okay.
the choice I would like to go towards.
Sunrises or sunsets?
Oh, Baba, I'm sunset ki diwane.
Sunsets?
You go
Okay.
to my Instagram stories, all you'll see is hashtag sunset ki diwane.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
somehow I missed that.
Yeah.
Rivers or oceans?
Rivers.
Rain or snow?
Rain.
Biking or trekking?
Trekking.
Okay. Camps or cottages?
Camps.
Okay. House or a farmhouse?
Farmhouse.
I knew that. Cities or villages?
Villages.
Skydiving, scuba diving?
Scuba.
Okay. Summer or winter?
I love summer.
Summers?
Yeah.
Salad or a smoothie?
Smoothie. I hate having to chew my vegetables.
And you need that sweet. Thank you so much. You did great on this round. We got to know a little more about your likes. Thank you so much. I wish this conversation doesn't end because I know there's so much more I can, derive and dig out from you, but I would do that off camera. Now that I have a connect with you, I will keep bothering you. But thank you so much for taking out your time and sharing such insightful things with our viewers and inspiring me on many, many levels. Thank you so much, Dia.
It was such a pleasure. And I always say that, you see in others what you are yourself. And you have a gift, Shilpa.
Thank you.
And it's a precious gift. And I hope that you can continue to share that gift and that joy with many, many, many people.
Thank you for inspiring me again.
Thank you.
What a lovely conversation that was. I hope you enjoyed this informative and inspiring episode. See you all next week. Signing off, Shilpa Reddy.